Hi again then guys, and welcome to another installment of Weekend Warriors on Gran Turismo 2 in particular for this video. And this car is what you could call a unicorn vehicle as far as gaming goes. There are certain games, but Forza tends to be the one which is known for it more than Gran Turismo, which has these unicorn vehicles, cars which are ultra rare. You usually have to win them or unlock them. And this is definitely one of those in terms of Gran Turismo's roster, because it's not in any of the official dealerships, and it's a car which has some connections to Toyota. For instance, you can tune the car in the Toyota dealership, but it's not in the Toyota dealership. You can't buy it, you have to win the car to unlock it. And it's an interesting little sports car. It's called the Tom's Angel T01, or the T01 as I often call it. Now this car visually is pretty intriguing to me. In real life it doesn't look anywhere near as good as it does on the game, I have to say. It's funny how there are certain cars which kind of look better with bad graphics. It kind of makes the car a bit flattered compared to how bad it looks in real life. Not that the Angel is ugly per se, but it hasn't aged that well, I don't think. And of course that's just my personal opinion. Now visually, for some reason, and I don't know why, but this car looks to me like a Mitsubishi. I don't know why. Maybe it's because it's red, maybe it's because the front end has a very Mitsubishi Starion look to it, at least for me, but for whatever reason this to me looks like what a Mitsubishi sports car could have looked like if they'd have made that. Something to rival the MR2 and those kind of vehicles. But be that as it may, that's totally irrelevant of course, because it's not a Mitsubishi, it's a Tom's. Now this is a very obscure vehicle, and on the game, as I said, you do have to unlock it. So what can you expect from this unicorn car? Is it just an interesting diversion from more mainstream options, or is it a car which can genuinely fly under the radar and turn out to be really good? Well, consider what you get. The engine is pretty small. It's a 1.6 litre naturally aspirated unit. It's mid-mounted. You can't turbo or supercharge it, which is perhaps unfortunate depending on how you look at it. But fully tuned, you're looking at 244 horsepower and 163 pound-feet of torque. So not earth-shattering, certainly not, but decent enough. It can certainly give plenty of other small sports cars a run for their money. But when you combine that power with the low weight, that's when it really sets itself apart from most of its rivals, because this is ultra light. 644 kilos when fully tuned is a lot lighter than, for instance, something like the Plymouth PT Spider concept, which we're also going to feature in this series down the line. It's a concept sports car. It's a similar kind of category to this one, but a little bit bigger. You'd probably assume it would be a great rival, and under certain circumstances it can be, but it's a much heavier car than this one. This has such a low curb weight that even with a relatively modest amount of power, you're still looking at just under 380 horsepower per tonne. Now to put that into perspective, that's roughly the kind of horsepower per tonne which you can expect from some GT class racing machines. Actual racing machines in real life. That's pretty good. For a small sports car to have that, it's impressive, certainly. Now, what can it actually do? Because being a car that has good numbers, as we've seen time and time again, doesn't automatically make it a good machine. So what's it actually like to drive? How does it perform? Well, on tracks which are a little bit twistier, but at the same time require what I would call that flow from corner to corner, and of course, pretty much any circuit requires that, but on a track such as here at Apricot Hill, you can notice it more. Because on some circuits, such as, say, Laguna Seca, for instance, it's not really a flow from corner to corner as much as a start-stop kind of driving. And on a city track, you can notice that even more. With this track, though, you have to maintain a reasonably high average speed around almost all of the track. And it's not difficult to do that with a good car, because you can, as I said, flow through the corners without really braking all that much, without letting off the throttle that much, of course, depending on the car you're driving. And for that kind of driving, this is a very good machine. Because of the fact that it's so compact and so light, even though it doesn't have a huge amount of power, it's not difficult at all to keep up a very good flow through those kind of corners, those rolling S-bends and longer hairpins, such as Apricot Hill offers. Now the performance isn't going to worry a supercar anytime soon. 244 horsepower is nowhere near high enough to do that, but it's got enough performance on the right track to potentially give it a victory. It's definitely a car which you can use in career mode for certain races and certain events, and if you detune it a little bit lower, you could definitely potentially use it in lower power restricted races as well. The handling is very smooth. It can definitely oversteer sometimes if you push the throttle a little bit too much, but nothing that a little bit of camber or slight diff adjustment can't solve. And overall, I would say this is a really nice little sports car to work with. It's not going to blow your mind in any particular way, but it's certainly an interesting vehicle, kind of an intriguing alternative to some of the more obvious choices, and also an interesting foil to some of the better known small sports cars of Forza's lineage, like the Tommy Kyras, or nowadays it would be stuff like the Autobacks, the ASL Garaya. This would have been a great rival to that were it still featured on the game. As far as returning vehicles go, I would say there's pretty much a 0% chance that this is going to return to Gran Turismo. It could happen, you know, anything can happen, but I 100% doubt that it will. I do not think that this car will return, as cool as it would be. So if you do get the chance to play Gran Turismo 2, this is certainly a car to look out for, and it's not difficult online to search through the victory car lists and find out where you need to go to unlock it. But that's it overall for this particular pick. I'll see you guys next time, and as always, thanks for watching.